So the story kicks off with this regular Japanese guy named Takaroo heading back home after work. He plops down on his couch, totally bored out his mind with the same old routine. He turns on the TV, hoping to switch things up a bit. While he's watching, his glasses suddenly start glowing like crazy, and boom, he gets transported to some weird world. This strange dude greets him with tea, and Takaroo's just standing there like, what the hell is going on? The guy explains he's basically the manager of their solar system. Takaroo watches this guy literally create a tiny planet called Mattius on his finger. The manager tells him that Mattius is a total wasteland where nothing can survive. He drops some water on the mini-planet and says that's basically what Takaroo's going to do when he gets there. Takaroo's freaking out about this random responsibility. Then the manager drops an even bigger bomb. He's going to lose his soul because, surprise, he's already dead. Takaroo feels like he's screwed and has no way out, but the manager says he'll at least give him special powers to help. He gives Takaroo unlimited mana and asks what else he wants. So Takaroo asks for a cute companion. The manager's like, sure, and also gives Takaroo the search ability to find and sell rare stuff. After writing down more powers, the manager tells him he'll have a magic bag with unlimited space, and he'll be able to speak the local language. Out of nowhere, Takaroo starts fading away, and the manager thinks he might have overdone it. Looking at Takaroo's future partner, the manager seems worried but tells him it'll be okay. Takaroo's thinking he's getting scammed big time, but everything goes black as he enters the new world. Soon enough, he wakes up leaning against a tree in this super green forest. When he looks up, there's this massive ring planet in the sky. He gets up and starts looking for people. After walking for a bit, Takaroo finds a village but panics because he's broke. Then he remembers the search ability the manager gave him and tries to use it. Nothing happens, so he's just standing there like an idiot holding his wand. Thinking he screwed up the spell, he tries writing it on the ground instead. The search spell finally kicks in and shows him where a bunch of items are around him. Takaroo scans one and finds out it's B-grade nightgrass. He gets excited about the rank and picks it up before grabbing the other stuff. But then he's disappointed because they're all E-rank garbage. Then he spots this nice-looking rock, but when he scans it, turns out it's monster crap. Takaroo's shocked that the poop is actually C-ranked and puts everything in his bag. He heads to the village to sell his stuff and finds this yawning guard at the entrance. The guard's surprised by how tall he is and asks if he's a knight. Takaroo says nah, he's just a gatherer, and the guard introduces himself as Captain Marlowe, who's in charge of the village defense. Marlowe opens a door and mentions there's a general store where Takaroo can sell his herbs. When Takaroo walks in, he feels awkward because everyone's staring at him. He goes into the general store and the shopkeeper asks what he needs. Takaroo asks if he can sell the monster poop, and the shopkeeper gets super excited about how good it is. He tells Takaroo it's worth a gold coin, so Takaroo asks if that's enough for an inn. The shopkeeper says 1 gold coin is good for 2 nights at an inn, which costs 500 rays per night. Takaroo can't believe the poop is worth that much and happily takes the deal. The shopkeeper actually rubs a shiny poop on his face and asks if Takaroo's got more stuff. Takaroo hands over all the herbs, and the shopkeeper's impressed with his skills. The shopkeeper's confused why he's selling such rare items at his small shop. Takaroo says he's a traveling merchant, feeling pretty confident about himself. The shopkeeper then offers Takaroo a real job. He needs some rare myethil ore from a mountain to the east, and Takaroo asks for a map. The shopkeeper agrees and pays Takaroo 360,000 raids for everything. Takaroo's eyes practically pop out his head at all that money, but the shopkeeper warns him there are monsters in the mountain. With his cash, Takaroo books a room at the inn to rest. An inn worker comes in with a tub of hot water. She tells him he can wash up with it, and he asks where he can get a proper bath. She says only rich nobles can afford full baths in this world. But Takaroo could also ask a water magician for one. Excited to try his own magic, Takaroo takes the bowl and tips the girl generously. After she leaves, Takaroo tries saying some words to create a water bath. The word clean makes this huge gush of water that deep cleans his whole body. Outside his room, the girl's surprised by all the weird happy noises Takaroo's making. He's thrilled he's clean, but bummed he can't actually soak in a nice cozy bath. The next day, Takaroo gathers more herbs and then finds the spade symbol. When he checks it out, he discovers a rotten skeleton wearing fighting gear. Takaroo falls backward in shock. Realizing it's a dead adventurer, he picks up an amulet with a letter from the adventurer's sister. Takaroo learns the guy was looking for money to cure his dad's illness, but his sister just wanted him to come home safe. Feeling sad for the poor guy, he makes a grave and says a prayer. After that, he creates a magic barrier around himself and uses some fuel to start a fire. Takaroo puts a pot on the fire and fills it with water and veggies for stew. He adds meat to it and watches everything cook. Once it's ready, Takaroo takes a bite and it's delicious, so he's thankful this isekai world has such amazing spices. After eating, Takaroo heads into the white forest of ancient dragons, knowing there are dangerous monsters around. He creates some light with a spell. The light shows him herbs nearby, and Takaroo's disappointed there's no ore. He's glad he hasn't run into any monsters yet, and starts picking herbs. Takaroo thinks maybe his terrible body odor is keeping the monsters away and starts happily running through the forest. He sees light at the end of the tunnel and runs toward it to get out, but Takaroo runs straight into a huge pit and starts falling down. He frantically chants every spell he can think of and finally finds a flying spell. The spell glows around him and gently brings Takaroo down to the ground. He sits down, relieved, but then notices symbols everywhere around him. Takaroo pulls out his hammer and starts mining all the ore. He breaks off a piece and sees it's silver ore, but there's no myethil. He uses the search spell again and finds some hidden ore, but the ground starts shaking. He decides to grab the ore and get out fast, using a fireball spell to uncover the hidden rock. Once the spell breaks the rock, Takaroo finds some tiny pieces of myethil deep inside. He's disappointed with how little there is, and ignores the shaking ground to look for more ore. He explores the rest of the cave and finds this beautiful underground lake. He rushes to scan the water and finds out it's SS-ranked magic elemental water. Takaroo gets excited about finding something so valuable, but then learns it's actually from an ancient dragon's nest. A deep voice calls out, asking who's trespassing, but Takaroo ignores it and wonders how to collect the water. He tries drinking some, but suddenly the water explodes and the dragon comes out. It angrily tells Takaroo to stop ignoring it, and he just stares at the creature silently. The dragon notices how calm he is, and Takaroo apologizes for coming into its lair. As the dragon looks at Takaroo's body, he feels weird about bowing to it. The dragon respects Takaroo's courage and asks who he is. Takaroo says he's human, which surprises the dragon because of all the mana in his body. The dragon says Takaroo's mana woke him up, and he's confused about it. The dragon tells Takaroo his mana is as strong as its own, and Takaroo finally realizes he's talking to an ancient beast. The dragon nods and says his name is Valdius. Takaroo asks if he can call him V, and Valdius is cool with it. He asks Takaroo for a favor, saying he could wake up his kids with all that power. Takaroo's surprised, so V explains the magic around his lair has gotten stale. He offers to pay Takaroo and summons this huge chunk of pure myethil ore as payment. Takaroo asks where the eggs are, and the dragon brings out a big black egg from the water. He sends it to Takaroo, who puts it up to his ear and hears the baby dragon's faint heartbeat inside. Takaroo wonders how to wake up the baby, and V tells him to pour his mana into the egg. V says it's just like making the light spell. So Takaroo decides to heat up the egg. After it heats up, the egg releases this powerful aura and starts sucking all of Takaroo's mana out. V starts laughing like a villain, and Takaroo realizes the sneaky old dragon tricked him. Losing his strength, Takaroo's vision fades, and he feels himself sinking into water. Takaroo hears a weird voice in his dream, yelling at him for being so careless. A man shows up in front of Takaroo and says he should have just run away from the dragon. The man tells Takaroo he's been messing with planet Mattius for thousands of years. But Takaroo's already shaken up the whole world on just the second day there. The man thinks Takaroo's carelessness is going to weaken the space manager's protection, then remembers he wanted a cute partner. As Takaroo's eyes start closing again, the man says he deserves some trouble before Takaroo can even ask what's going on. Everything fades and he wakes up in the real world. Takaroo hears a cute voice squeaking in the dark cave, and V asks if he's okay. Takaroo thinks V is messing with him using a fake voice, and uses a light spell to catch him, but instead, he finds a baby dragon squeaking at him, and it jumps right on his face. After Takaroo puts the baby dragon down, V asks him to name it. Takaroo, surprised V, is letting him name his kid. The dragon explains his child already has a dragon name, but Takaroo should give him a common name. Takaroo gets up and starts thinking hard, and decides to call it B because it's black. Loving his new name, B starts licking Takaroo's face to show he's happy. V calls his kid by his full name, Black Nobi Valdius, and says Takaroo picked a good nickname. Then he lets B travel the world with Takaroo. Takaroo feels the baby join his party, and tells V he should spend time with his newborn baby. He thinks V shouldn't trust a random stranger with his baby, but V trusts Takaroo because he's stronger than him. He shoots a beam at Takaroo's bag before sinking back into the water, as V keeps drooling all over Takaroo's face. V says goodbye before disappearing into the depths. Takaroo's blown away by how surreal this whole thing is, and seriously asks B if he's ready for a gathering journey. B happily agrees, so he washes its stinky body to protect his nose during their adventures. Following some time, Takaroo exits the cave with B, observing B cheerfully buzz around in the forest. Takaroo believes that traveling at night isn't a wise idea. Feeling hungry, he determines to camp out at the spot for the night. Getting prepared to eat, he extracts some magic elemental water. Observing the water in his bag, Takaroo recalls that V connected this to the magic lake so that he could supply food for B. B cheerfully drinks some water and requests more. Therefore, Takaroo grants her another cup. Nevertheless, it offers this cup to Takaroo. Therefore, he takes it and samples some magic water himself. Following drinking the refreshing water, Takaroo sets down some magic stones and casts a barrier surrounding them. Utilizing the precious stones so effortlessly, he recalls how valuable they are in this realm. Nevertheless, since he can simply generate magic stones with his own mana, Takaroo feels free to abuse them for minor conveniences. With another magic stone prepared, Takaroo heats it up to commence cooking. Evenby becomes astonished as he observes Takaroo transform the expensive stones into a kitchen stove. Knowing it's the identical dish as before, Takaroo prepares some steak and stew, but feels thrilled to consume it since it tastes so delicious. He notices B drooling at the meat, but feels concerned that the foreign food would harm it. Takaroo offers a modest portion for B to sample, and it burns its mouth from the heated food. To assist her eat, Takaroo blows on the food and cools it down. Ultimately, B enjoys a delicious stew and fills its belly with the food. Observing the baby dragon lays around, Takaroo ponders why it's not sorrowful about departing its father. In response, B simply embraces Takaroo, so he realizes that it feels delighted living with him. Takaroo is satisfied with its response and examines B's stats. Even at B's young age, he discovers it at a potent B rank with a bunch of potent elemental abilities. Takaroo becomes earnest about B, but believes that it's still a kid who requires to be raised properly. Observing the lazy baby, he earnestly cautions it not to attempt anything hazardous, even if it's so strong. Takaroo reminds B that he'll get reprimanded by V if something goes wrong, but it begins sleeping before he can even finish. Observing its sleep, Takaroo ponders that the space administrator granted him a reptile companion on purpose. The following day, Takaroo climbs up a mountain to reach the forest again, feeling astonished that the forest appears so peaceful during the day. Takaroo believes that he shouldn't be so concerned about the isekai realm rules. While he begins playing, Takaroo utilizes his search skill to discover more herbs to trade. As he discovers some new herbs, B returns terrified. Takaroo searches for monsters and detects several of them in the area. Reflecting back to his previous experience when monsters were frightened off by his smell, Takaroo believes that his visit to the cave washed the smell off of him. Desiring to obtain some monster loot, he prepares to combat the monsters. Abruptly, a ferocious rock falcon roars behind Takaroo, but he discovers it adorable compared to the terrifying ball. Noticing the bird's meat, Takaroo determines to transform it into KFC. As the bird charges at Takaroo, he generates a shield and prepares some ice needles to attack. With a single attack, Takaroo transforms the bird into a chicken carcass. Subsequently, he turns to observe some serpent wolves surrounding him. As a wolf rushes towards Takaroo, he utilizes a speed enhancement ability and leaps to avoid its attack. Subsequently, he hardens his body with another skill and kicks down at the wolf's skull. Following finishing it off, Takaroo eliminates 2 more wolves, but a sneaky one creeps behind him. Nevertheless, he effortlessly knocks it away before finishing off the remainder of the wolves. Takaroo begins collecting all the monster meat and materials, but notices even more monsters nearby. Not desiring to spend his whole day fighting, Takaroo ponders how to escape, so he grabs him and attempts hard to flap its wings. Takaroo doesn't believe Bee is strong enough to lift him, but it genuinely lifts him to his surprise to assist Bee fly effortlessly. Takaroo reduces his weight with spell, and it shoots through the sky with it. As a lady opens her eyes, Bee takes Takaroo to space, who informs her it's going too elevated. Astonished, the baby dragon drops Takaroo to the earth. He awakens to be licking his countenance and realizes that it genuinely took him out of the forest. Takaroo is stunned by Bee's rapid speed and thanks it for its assistance. Nevertheless, he reminds the dragon to restrain on him next time, since he cannot handle all its power. Satisfied by his praise, Bee attempts to embrace Takaroo but headbutts his stomach instead. Subsequently, they commence heading back to Tormei village. While walking back, Bee notices a peculiar branch in Takaroo's hand. Therefore, he clarifies that it's addressed the Yggdrasil branch. Takaroo discloses that he had this SS rank legendary item from his first day in this realm, but its powers are currently inactive. Bee acknowledges before blowing some smoke on the branch. Takaroo is stunned to observe that Bee's magic breath genuinely woke up the sleeping item. He ponders how to utilize a new staff, believing it would make him appear like a magician instead of a gatherer. Abruptly, they hear a growl in the forest, and Takaroo instructs Bee to stay on alert. As Takaroo ponders if it's another monster, Bee abruptly flies away toward the noise. Takaroo chases after it, hoping the baby stays safe. He discovers Bee circling around a tree and observes a young elf collapsed under it. Takaroo ponders if she got attacked by the growling monster, but the elf's hungry stomach answers his question, stating she hasn't eaten in days. The elf requests some water. He reaches into his bag and obtains some fresh water for her, which she swiftly gulps down. The elf thanks Takaroo for his assistance, but still feels hungry for food. Recalling that he possesses some lunch left, Takaroo grants her a sandwich, and the elf greedily devours it. As the girl commends a heavenly meal, Takaroo is stunned to observe an elf act so unrefined. He reminds the girl that even stale bread would taste delectable to a starving person, and she states that she has regained her will to live, pondering how she ran out of food so swiftly. Takaroo reminds her that the village isn't distant from the forest. Following, she clarifies that she departed in a hurry. Takaroo reprimands her for being so reckless. Feeling humiliated, the girl attempts to clarify, but Takaroo notices her unpleasant smell. He feels disheartened that she smells like excrement instead of flowers, and the elf girl becomes offended by his impolite remark. Following thanking him for his assistance, she rises to depart and sprints through the forest. Once the elf girl departs, Takaroo collects some more materials on his way home. Beyond the forest, V notices something and Takaroo spots a carriage on the road. As the carriage approaches closer, Takaroo notices that a special E-rank unicorn horse is pulling it. The carriage driver, addressed Poron, inquires him what he's doing in the forest alone. Therefore, Takaroo informs him that he's heading to Tormei village. Poron is astonished that he's walking all the way there while his wife and kids observe with curiosity. Noticing the staff in his hands, he inquires Takaroo if he's a magician. He swiftly clarifies that he's merely a gatherer, and Poron feels impressed by his rare job, clarifying that he's also headed to Tormei. Poron offers a ride to Takaroo. He refuses, stating that he's too large to fit in the carriage, and Poron's kids laugh at Takaroo's peculiar appearance. Nevertheless, Palom insists that Takaroo ride with him, so he boards on the back of the carriage. As Takaroo sits in the carriage, he ponders why all the kids in this realm like him so much. Poron teases him for his size, and Takaroo apologizes again for taking up so much space. Poron states he doesn't mind assisting out a fellow Tormei resident in need, and his family agrees, as Takaroo feels astonished by such young kids going on a hazardous trip. Poron's daughter, addressed Yunnan, offers him a gift, accepting the kind gift. He inquires why the family is trusting him so effortlessly. Pollen's son Adreskin informs him that if Takaroo were a bad guy, their magical item would have alerted them. Takaroo notices a little bell with a magic stone and believes that he can generate an item like that as well. Subsequently, he recalls to present himself, and Poron's wife, Eliza, presents herself too. Abruptly, he begins struggling in Takaroo's bags, and the kids notice it. They inquire about the peculiar sound, but Takaroo attempts to conceal it since it's a rare monster. Eliza informs him that it's not very rare for adventurers to possess monster pets, so he permits them to observe it. Once Bee emerges, the kids commence fawning over it. While Poron and his wife are astonished that Takaroo acquired a rare dragon to conceal Bee's true identity as an ancient dragon, Takaroo informs them it's merely a black dragon. They ponder if he's a dragon knight, so Takaroo clarifies that he simply hatched a dragon egg he discovered. While Bee utilizes Takaroos like Play-Doh, Poron is stunned that he can hatch a dragon egg on his own. Takaroo inquires Eliza how rare dragons are, and she clarifies that it's already uncommon to observe a dragon knight. But real dragons are even harder to discover. Reflecting about dragon knights from video games, Takaroo ponders if he can discover one in this realm. Later at night, following they stop for a break, Takaroo utilizes his magic stones to set up a barrier. Poron feels relieved that they won't be disturbed by any monsters, and Takaroo informs him that Bee will be on a watch for anything suspicious. As Baby Bee flies around, the family feels safe with its power on their side. As Eliza prepares to prepare dinner, Takaroo inquires if he can handle the cooking for the night. As he extracts his cooking set from his bag, the kids believe that Takaroo is a real magician. He clarifies that it's merely a bottomless storage bag before commencing to cook. Once the food is done, the family feels thrilled to dig in. Following, Takaroo invites them to commence. The kids begin eating first and immediately fall in love with the food. Poron and Eliza also consume some food, and Eliza commends Takaroo's cooking. Nevertheless, Poron remains silent with his shoulders shaking, so Eliza inquires him if he's okay. Abruptly, he glances up with tears and snot in his countenance, crying that he ultimately got to consume real food following all the bland dried meats during his journey. At Poron's exaggerated praise, Takaroo begins laughing, but Poron insists that he utilize some kind of magic to enhance the food's taste. Even the kids commence laughing at their dad's funny antics before finishing dinner. Once they're done, Poron extracts a guitar, and Eliza begins singing with him with music in the background. Takaroo begins playing with Poron's happy kids, sharing simply joy with the family. He recalls his lonely life on Earth, enjoying his time with Poron's family. Takaroo believes that spending time with other individuals is an amazing experience. Feeling glad that the isekai realm has granted him a new life with other individuals, he puts Bee to sleep following they finish playing. With the baby dragon snoring away, Takaroo settles into his bed, observing out at the beautiful starry sky. By the time dawn breaks, Palom is already hard at work, cleaning the reins in the carriage while the kids remain tucked away in their dreamy world with Bee nestled in between them. Shiro is up and about as well, sitting on the ground and passing the time by cleaning his scissors until they shine. Eliza emerges from the carriage after setting everything up and greets Shiro, telling him that anyone who takes good care of their tools makes a good adventurer. Shiro realizes that lately he's been really enjoying his life, and even though he got to gather class by complete chance, maybe he's naturally suited for it. Soon enough, they get ready to continue their journey. This time, Shiro asks if he can take the reins for a bit, and Palom gladly agrees. He sits on the front seat alongside Palom, and they continue moving ahead without any trouble. The unicorn seems to be a very intelligent beast, listening and responding to Shiro's every command. Before long, Bee wakes up properly and immediately flies out to Shiro before settling near his legs. After an easy journey of another couple of hours, they finally catch their first glimpse of Tori Village, and soon they arrive at the front gate. Shiro gets off right there, while Palom and his family thank him for the wonderful time they had together before moving on. The guard seems to know who Palom is, commenting that Palom always brings a spring with him. This catches Shiro's interest, and he asks the guard what exactly Palom does. The guard explains that Palom and his family chase after the warmer regions since he's a weaver by trade. So whenever Palom arrives in this village, It means the warm spring and summer are on their way as well. According to the guard, there's been less game to hunt in these areas recently, which makes Shiro realize why Palom was so happy with the food. He thanks the gods for giving him the ability to be a good gatherer, since he never really has to worry about finding food or money. A little while later, he goes to meet with a shopkeeper who assigned him a quest and shows him all the spoils he collected. The shopkeeper spends a good amount of time viewing the items one by one, but he seems particularly interested in one of the rocks. Soon, he turns towards Shiro and asks where he found this particular rock, because this isn't just a mithril or it's a magical mithril or... Shiro has no idea what that means, but the shopkeeper claims this is the stuff of legends. This finally shakes Shiro, who asks if it's expensive. The shopkeeper tries to make him understand the scale of this find by telling him that this stone contains an immense amount of concentrated mana, and even just 2 or 3 stones will be enough to replace all the magic stones in the entire kingdom. Shiro is shocked by this, but doesn't want to reveal his special skill, so he claims he just randomly found it. The shopkeeper doesn't buy it though, saying that even if he found it randomly, he definitely has a lot of skill alongside a good amount of luck. He tells Shiro that his skills are wasted here and that he should move toward the next big city from this village, known as Belsum. There he'll find people who actually have the funds to buy stuff like this, and it'll also help him learn more about this world. He also suggests joining a guild that could provide him with advanced level knowledge, which will definitely help him in future adventures. Later that night, he unwinds in his room and starts researching more about guilds and adventurers. He realizes that being an adventurer can actually be really beneficial for him, but he's in no hurry. He decides that his next step would be to leave for Belsum and join a guild, but for now, he's going to stay around Tori for a while. A couple of days pass, during which he offers the beast he killed a few days ago to be cooked for the entire village. Since there was a shortage of game, everyone loved the taste of meat, and salmonella probably, but even the village baddies were enjoying themselves, so mission successful. He spends some more days roaming around the village gathering stuff, but soon enough gets ready to depart. The nice old lady gives him a bunch of seasonings and spices to take along with him for the journey, before telling him that the villagers would love to have him stay longer, as they've all grown used to having him around. Shiro promises to return one day, but for now he needs to move ahead on his journey to make sure he's properly provisioned. The old lady provides him with a bunch of packed homemade meals, since the journey to Belsum is long and will take him nearly a month to complete. She tells him to come back to this village if he ever gets homesick, and Shiro thanks her before heading back to his room. He puts me to sleep for the long journey tomorrow, and is about to lay down for the night as well when he thinks about how nice the village has been to him and feels he should probably give something in return. With that thought, he gets up from his bed and moves toward the table where he looks at the lantern and the magical mithril stone. He thinks about how the village guard has to stay outside day in and day out just to make sure no monsters get into the village. So he uses his creativity and the magic stone's mana to fuse them with the lantern and create a new magical item. The next morning, when he's ready to leave, the entire village comes to see him off for his journey. He realizes how this small village has become his actual home now, one he'll definitely return to. So he offers him the magical item he created, telling the guard that this item can cast a magical barrier around them, which will protect them from any harmful monsters that come near. The village is beyond grateful for such an amazing gift, but the shopkeeper takes the item in his hands and examines it before asking Shiro if he used a magic mithril stone for it. He opens the bottom and takes it out, only to find the stone right there. But before he can protest and tell Shiro to take the stone with him, Shiro runs away, telling the shopkeeper to keep it for the village. The entire village waves him off as his journey finally starts anew. The morning air is crisp on his face as he wanders through the open fields enjoying the beautiful day, when suddenly he runs into a huge crab monster. At first it scares the crap out of him, but he decides to check the stats of the beast. He realizes it's a C-rank monster, which means it shouldn't be too difficult to deal with. He also notices that the crab is supposed to be edible, which gets his mouth watering, as he tells me that crab meat is really delicious. He gets ready for the fight, and uses his magic to harden his body. But before he can even plan an attack, B goes ahead and uses his supersonic blast, which immediately takes it down. Before he can chop it up though, 2 more crabs appear around him, moving side to side. He starts formulating a plan, thinking that the crabs can only move sideways, which he could use to his advantage. But to his horror, the crabs immediately run straight at him, without giving him any time to dodge the attack. He wonders if this is where his journey ends. But thankfully Bee isn't as incompetent as him, and grabs him by the collar before lifting him up in the air, while the two crabs collide with each other violently. Both crabs die instantly. But the danger isn't over yet, as the first one gets up and starts running toward him once again. Shiro, however, is better prepared this time and grabs his staff before hitting a home run, killing the monster instantly. That evening, they get ready for a hearty dinner. Shiro uses his enchantments to reinforce his hands, using them to slice off the crab legs before putting them all in a pot and adding water alongside other spices to create a thick stew. Once the meat is done, they crack open the shell and take their first bite of crab in this new world, loving the flavors immensely. Shiro is pleased with himself as he tells me how amazing he feels and how he can't wait for them to travel around more, so they can taste more flavors of this wonderful world. Apparently, the villagers were lying jerks because it definitely didn't take them a month to reach the city of Belsum, which is a huge protected structure surrounded on one side by water. He gets in line alongside other peasants to enter the city, but realizing he might stand out, he uses his magic to make his magic bag look normal and even tells me to hide for a while. Soon he's called by the immigration department, where the officer checks his luggage and his ID to make sure he's not there to topple any towers. They seem very lax though, as they simply use a basic magic scan to check whether he has any criminal record while the woman checks his bag, but finds nothing out of the ordinary. Shiro is interested in knowing how his stats look to other people, but he realizes they must look normal since the god made sure he wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb. The guy tells him he seems to be all clear, but he has a certain blessing of the dragon, which is confusing them. Shiro decides to reveal the truth and shows Bee to them, and they're immediately taken by its cuteness. But the officer tells him to put a tag on the dragon since they can't have unidentified nukes floating around. Shiro uses a bracelet he had and puts it around Bee's tail, which marks their immigration complete, and they're welcomed into the city. He's immediately taken by the bustling city as people of all races walk together to their destinations, buying food, getting armor, go to training halls, and so on. He walks around in awe before noticing the guild hall in the distance. He makes his way straight toward the Adventurers Guild and enters a hall to find a beautiful place filled with all kinds of warriors and mages. Suddenly, he's approached by Arya, a bunny girl receptionist who welcomes him to the guild and asks if he'd like to register himself there. Shiro nods and follows her to the desk, where she takes down all his information and asks if he's had any previous combat experience. Shiro replies that he hasn't had much experience, but he's fought a weird bird, some snake wolves, and a bunch of huge crabs. Arya looks confused and asks if he has any proof of all this. So this idiot reaches into his bag and pulls out an entire dead crab before plopping on the table, causing it to shatter under the weight. Arya gets scared and runs outside, while all the people in the guild gather around to see what happened. One of the guild members there uses a special skill to check Shiro and tells Arya that she should calm down, as Shiro doesn't seem to be a dangerous person. Shiro is a little confused at this, but the guy explains that he has a special ability which lets him see the intentions of each person. If he showed up in red, that would mean he wants to cause trouble, but since he turned out to be blue, he should be fine. Shiro is glad for that, but the guy asks why exactly he's carrying around a dead crab. Shiro replies that obviously he wants to eat it, as only an idiot would waste good crab meat. But this scandalizes the guild members, as it doesn't seem like people of this world eat crabs. With that, the guy tells Arya that she should finish up his registration. He asks Shiro if he has any partners, and Shiro replies that his only partner is his dragon Bee for now. This really shocks the onlookers, as they haven't seen many dragons in their lives. And for a person to be a gatherer, which in itself is a rare class, and then to have a super rare beast is almost impossible. Yet there Shiro stands. He immediately starts getting all the attention, as a couple of guild members start inviting him to their parties. Arya decides to take him to the next room for some privacy. But while Shiro was expecting something more interesting, all he got was a guild's mark on his application, proving he's an actual adventurer. With that, his application is complete, and Arya awards him with a copper bracelet denoting his rank as F, which is where every new member must start. Shiro doesn't mind, though, as he starts imagining all the amazing adventures he'll get to go on now. And that's where this story ends for now.